It's the Tribune podcast again. We're back after a couple of weeks of absence. We were in the Caribbean, and it's nice to be back. We don't need fake tans out in the nightclubs this weekend, boys. It's John McAtee here with Eamon McFadden and Declan Kerr, and we're looking across the general news there. We're looking at COVID. Has it reached its peak? Where is the peak for this thing? Because it's not the first time we've asked the question, has it reached its peak today? It's about, in total, about 8,354 actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it out there in every community, and like our own communities has lots of it.
More than ever.
Maybe this week there's a bit of a wee lull in it.
Easing in it.
Yeah. You know, it was up very close since we were here before.
Yeah.
It was up pretty close to 20,000. Those were the highest numbers since it began, and yet the government has decided in their wisdom not to take any action on it. Is that the right thing to do? Probably it is.
It appears that I think public sentiment is, I suppose the hospital services have been finding the pressure, and they have been, I suppose, trying to put some pressure on the government to look at that, but I think that's not going to happen. And
intensive care figures thankfully haven't
gone through. But really, when you look at it, in the round, what more can the hospitals do? There's 1,600 people approximately in hospital. Numbers very high, much too high, given that there is a trolley crisis that's been highlighted this morning by Patrick McLaughlin here in Donegal, with the numbers for March, record highs in Donegal. You know, what can hospitals do? I mean, Tirconaill Hospital was recording figures up to 80 not so long ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, but I think they're down a bit this week. We're hoping that new wave has reached a peak. But through Easter, we'll not know until probably the end of April, really.
Next big public gathering time is Easter now, of course.
Maybe there's some slight indications maybe that it has. I heard a GP from down the country saying there during the week that they felt that maybe there was some indications that it might be peaking and might be turning, but we'll see.
This whole issue about wearing masks, even though they're not mandatory anymore, should people, well, I'm talking about myself, I always wear a mask going into public places, but going into a lot of public places nowadays, there's nobody wearing them.
No.
Yeah. Does it make any difference?
Well, are they saying with this new variant that it's so infectious, or an argument put forward that even with masks that it wasn't going to be enough. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
We're going to have to wait and see across Easter. We just hope that those who have it recover and that it will start to diminish. And staying on this health theme, there are plans to devolve the running of the health service into 6 regions. What's that all about, Declan? Or does it add up to sort of a huge improvement in the numbers of people being treated? Because at the end of the day, there are 133,000 employed across the HSE. Very high numbers. Are we getting any kind of a definitive piece of evidence to suggest that numbers being treated are increasing?
Yeah, well, I mean, the vision for this is that it would hand a bit more autonomy to regions in terms of their budgets to deal with things. But I mean, going back, John, I suppose you go back to the health boards, John, and I suppose you would have strong memories of how that worked and that sort of stuff.
I served on a number of committees, and they were good actually. I suppose back then we had very strong personalities. There was a dynamic there back in that day. 35 years ago, that's long since absent. I think the removal of the health boards and the removal of the political representation across each county and across each electoral area is seriously missing, and that I think was the big fault line.
There's accountability
Well, I mean, you have a Western Health Forum there that is not serving any official function really, other than a number of councillors can go in there, ask questions, get answers, but there's no real interaction there. Like insofar as proper health board representation had been said 30-40 years ago, that is gone, and I think that has been damaging. I think the health board is in chaos. The current model is not working, hasn't been working. James Riley, the health minister for Fine Gael in 2011, his ambition was to remove the health service and start it up from scratch, but the health service is still there. It's probably more bureaucratic, it's probably much more autocratic as well, and that is very well removed from the voice of the people. I don't see how that's going to be restored. I'm not really impressed Because when Simon Donnelly launched the new plan the last December, just before Christmas time, he says, "I am keen that voices from across the health and social services are heard as we implement the new regional health authorities." Why were they not being heard previously on them? You know, I believe they weren't. People, I don't think they are being heard. I mean, where is the local representation that brought us a lot of the facilities that we have here, like the community hospitals? Where is the future of community hospitals in relation to, say, like Tirconaill, Ramelton, Lufford? I mean, those things are hanging there by a thread probably now since 2020, was it, before the election, when Catherine Lynch made the shock announcement that so many of them were going to close. I don't recall seeing any clear evidence that that policy has changed an awful lot. But like the actual health service as it now stands, with ambulances parked up outside hospitals waiting for patients to be admitted, that is absolutely astonishing that that's still allowed to go on. And I just saw there at another regional meeting there of last month where a fairly extensive plan was being talked about, in that those ambulance crews could attend to people in their own homes rather than having them waiting outside the health centres or outside the A&Es. To make that work, probably that again is an ambition. It probably is not going to happen because we don't have the manpower. Yet we have record numbers of people employed in the health services. So is there too much middle management? Is there not enough medical and nursing management? You know, is there too much bureaucracy within the system, or is the system outmoded? And the other question I've seen being aired in the national media, to what extent are the unions playing a huge function in retaining what they have, what we have, we hold on to? So nothing can ever change. The same you could be said about the Irish Hospitals Consultants Group and all the other focus groups that are in there. But like at the end of the day, the health service is there for one purpose, and that's to serve the patient who has to go into hospital, not to wait for 12, 13, 14 hours on a trolley. That day should have been long consigned to history. Now, you can devolve as many of these authorities as you like, but until there's a plan there to see major issues in dealing with patients being admitted to hospital and cutting the waiting list and ensuring that proper care is there to serve the people. There's huge fault lines after all the investigations and all the studies and after all the talk about slanted care. I think slanted care was a burst of flush the very first day because it was coming off a system that already failed. But you know, that's where we're at with that. But do you see any purpose in this new plan where you're going to have Donegal, Sligo, Leitrim, Roscommon, Mayo and Galway in the one region? Or is it just another talking shop?
I can't see much difference on the face of it, you know, and I suppose the fear is that you could have even more bureaucracy, you know, in the setting up of them.
Oh, you don't have to fear that. You don't have to fear that it's going to happen. It's guaranteed to happen. Because bureaucracy has taken over the asylum right across the country, right across every service, you know. What
advantage is it putting forward for that? Or
the victim is the service and the patient. You know.
Do we not have anybody sort of with a capacity to come up with something original and different, given that everything else seems to have failed the system of health in Ireland? After all, we're a small country, we're just about 5 million people, and given that almost 1 in 5 of the public are waiting for some kind of an appointment with a consultant, does that not say that the health service has totally failed the people? And then when you add on the cost of it that we can't really be talking about because we could be heading into inflation and a recession, and we could be looking at what is the health service costing us. This has all happened on our watch, Declan. We're going to have to cut beds here. We're not a million miles away from doing that.
But shifting the status quo is just very, very, well, it's near impossible.
Have we ever had a Minister for Health who had a grasp on it that could get beyond moving it from where it now is into a different space to start all over again? That they would take all the unions in the health service, from the porters to the nurses to the consultants and all that with them, into building a new system that might be fit for the 21st century. I doubt it. But anyway, staying on that theme, our off-league today is Sinn Féin demands action on trolley crisis, and this is Paddy McLaughlin calling for a zero-tolerance approach to hospital overcrowding following the publication of the NMO's trolley watch figures for March, and he's referring there that 781 patients have been without a bed this March, and this is the highest figure for the month of March ever at the hospital. This is LUH in Letterkenny. We're also going to refer to Garda searches that have been ongoing in Kilmacrenan. There's been a big increase in Garda searches and investigations of late. Not quite clear what this was all about, but really that search, we understand, was still ongoing this Wednesday. And we're saying that a major Garda search of property in the Kilmacrenan area on Tuesday morning recovered a firearm, a number of rounds of ammunition and a stolen motorcycle. You can read the rest of it there. It's only going to cost you $1.80 to buy the Tribune. Just $1.80 at the moment. I can't see it that way forever. But we're going to move on. Eamon, you're going to talk to us a bit about the amazing response to Charlie Bird's walk.
Yeah, literally, it swept the country, I suppose, at the weekend, and that's been an ongoing saga because Charlie Bird's story, I think everybody's familiar with it now. You know, he's diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and he had this ambition to climb Croagh at the weekend and enlist some people to help him along the way. Well, it seems like he's mobilised the entire country, and people organise these walks all across. It's well stated here that from Raid to Marine Hill, from Muckish to Errigal, people came out in force to support Charlie Bird as his climb for Croagh. And there's a great spread of photographs on there too. I think it's really captured the imagination of everybody. He was due to do the walk with Vicky Phelan, another great campaigner who sadly couldn't, due to her own health complications, couldn't join him on the walk. But Charlie made it. It was phenomenal scenes at the top of the mountain, you know. And I think
2.2 million.
2.2, absolutely,
a lot of
phenomenal
money.
amount of money.
But you know, in fairness, RT has. The Late Show has given him fantastic coverage.
Yeah, well, he was never stuck for a platform
couldn't have
for
happened
sure.
without him.
Nah, not at all.
I mean, he was always an engaging personality, a very powerful voice in the news department of RTE. And now in ill health, you know, I think the big fear last Saturday, would he be fit to climb Croagh?
He seemed to.
And he got there in just over 2 hours.
He did well.
Yeah.
He did well.
But I mean, he had a lot of big names. Well-known names backing him up, and they were there on the day.
Daniel O'Donnell came out with a great quote on the news. Actually, he says, "Can you believe it?" He says that one man here has united the whole country when another man over in Russia has divided the world. You know, and it just shows you the power of what a person can have. And Charlie's contribution is certainly very positive, given his illness. You know, he's making a huge contribution.
But then he went and sang "Moonlight in Mayo," and that'll not be sung again probably until Mayo won the All Ireland.
Whenever that'll be.
That's going to be a long
after the performance against Kerry on Sunday.
But I mean, Donegal did the walk proud.
It wasn't. It took place, and you know what?
Thousands upon thousands got out and around the county.
And there was actually lots of little smaller ones too. People went away and did their own walk and made contributions.
They're not even recorded.
Not even recorded.
Not mentioned. And a lot of them were spontaneous, I would say.
There's a nice roundup of it all there from all the faces out in the hills. And
that's great.
They got the weather too, which is a big help to them.
We're going to move on. A long-serving nurse has retired from the HSE. Can we get away from the HSE today at all?
Well, I think this might be the final chapter on the.
This
Catherine Cannon.
One.
It's very much so. Catherine Cannon, and a Showan woman, a native, and she retired there just recently from the position of director at the Centre for Nursing and Midwifery Education, based there at St Conal's Hospital. A 47-year nursing career started in Sligo General Hospital in 1975 as a student nurse. Catherine went on then to gain experience in the UK and in the Far East or in the Middle East as well, and came back then in 1985 and has been based in Letterkenny General Hospital, and then went on to reach that position and just retired there in the last couple of weeks.
Very good. There we just forgot to mention the fact that you are probably looking forward to your electricity grant this month, because it's going to be wiped out in one payment anyway. If you can get away with that.
There's not much chat about it.
I'm not sure what we'll be getting. Is it 100? Some people are getting 200, but we're in a different wage bracket altogether. Should we be entitled even to get the grant?
Up here we're different.
Up here is different.
Up here we're higher paid. Where's that all going to end? Is there an end to this inflationary spiral that's ongoing?
No. There's nothing in sight in relation to that now.
Is there a lot of price gouging going on?
well, you know, that has to, it has to be brought
Question always raises its head, doesn't it?
into the equation. One can't rule that out.
Michael Ring, I think we take our editorial from it this week. Michael Ring described it as rip off Ireland's back again, and that was speaking in the Dáil last Thursday. Anyway, Anthony McCabe writes a column for the paper every week, and he's always interesting because he covers the northern landscape very, very well. This week he's looking at Jeff Bezos, worth almost as much as the Irish economy, and not one to hide behind his shyness or anything. Anthony's just writing a stand for us here. I do my best to avoid Amazon. There are other ways of buying online. Unfortunately, there is the odd time when I have no alternative. Then I have to hold my nose. The worst is many people are still in the same position. He's going on here about the war in Ukraine and all this kind of thing, and the issue that he's making about the Amazon issue is that in America, a union has won the right to have unions in their
Staten Island,
in Staten Island, but Amazon is I think they employ about 1.3 million people around the world. They're going to appeal that like mad. But I mean, this is probably the first thing that has lit a sort of a flag that workers have a right to be members of unions. And Anthony, being a very powerful advocate for the National Union of Journalists all his life, is seeing this as just a small ray of hope. So he said there must be a cause of joy, because Amazon has been a hugely destructive force. You hear this? The most destructive impact that has been on books, that has destroyed bookshops by ruthless undercutting of prices. That has had a disastrous result. In Britain and the north, there are half the number of independent bookshops there were a quarter of a century ago. Not only small independents have been hit, Easons are no small fish. They have, though, closed all the shops in the north. An interesting piece that there. Now, we're going to go on from that, and we're going to what? So where are we going to go now? I want to mention Pat Murphy, close friend of ours in the Tribune, close friend of my own, and a close friend to Donegal. Tirconaill bids farewell to long-time Republican. Pat was a native of South Derry. He died last Friday and was laid to rest on Sunday. Very, very big crowds there. Lovely photographs from it. Deputy Paddy McLaughlin and John Downey folding the tricolour in Tirconaill, and this is at the funeral, and then members of Gael and the former Guard of Honour. We have a nice page on that. Paddy McLaughlin does a very fine oration on that, and again, a well-known figure, a much-loved figure, and a great advocate for credit union. He was the life and soul of the Scully Mulroy Credit Union for a generation. So deepest sympathy to Bernie, to the whole family, from all of us at the Tribune. After that, we're going to look at the front page, wherever we put it. It's on the back of another page. This is part of the cost-cutting measures here, saving 1/10%.
Double front paperless office.
Micah crisis, disbelief as council officials absent. Now, this is the whole issue around: was it on? Is it off? What's going on here? Is it going to be bin lids, and there's going to be a lot of noise? This is in relation to the Taoiseach's visit to Donegal last week. And there was a fallout there. Events had to be cancelled after the announcements were posted on social media. They weren't getting any response to whether they were going to be met or not in the Mike Action Group. So they announced what was called a dignified protest. It was added to later on by other individuals who called for a noisy one. But anyway, they did meet with the Taoiseach at Angreen Hotel in Burt. But the point being made by campaigners is that on what was the most significant event for the Micah campaigners Donegal since this whole issue became a national one. The Taoiseach was present with members of the Micah Action Group, but there was no representation from the lead body in the county. That is Donegal County Council. Now, they're not specifically blaming Donegal County Council for their absence. There are other reasons, as far as we've been told by some of the campaigners. We just love to hear what those reasons are, and we're not going to start guessing here where it might be. What we're simply saying on the front page in our lead paragraph is that following the weekend meeting between the Mike Action Group and the Taoiseach and Burt, campaigners said that in what had been the most important meeting ever for the homeowners, it was unacceptable that executive members of Donegal County Council were not present, and this matter needs urgent clarification. And with that, as we hit 20 minutes, we say goodbye until next week, which is Easter. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.